I think that we are live. I'm not sure. Hey, Lynn Vander. We are live. So I'm going to move this to the center so it doesn't look like I'm constantly looking off to the side. So, hey, guys. I will wait for a few more viewers. Lynn Vander, good job on that. I listened to as much as I could, but had some phone calls on to take care of and some other chat stuff to do. So we only have the one viewer, and it is Lynn Vander. Hopefully we will get some more in here. Let's get this shared some other places as well. Most excellent. Lynn Vander is a huge help. I don't know. Really don't want to, just go into stuff with only Lynn Vander here. They know the entire story already. And they already told it at least once during that one. And I'm going to tell it again in this. So ooh, we just jumped to 4. Hopefully, 5. Now we're getting some people. Hey, Mr. Jeeves. I am not the voice. No, I am JT. I'm the creative director at Jasco Games. So at some point during Tom's live stream, although for this one, live stream might be a little more apropos. During Tom's thing, he mentioned me. I am the creative director. A lot of the layout happens by Lynn Vander's team when they're designing the game, because obviously they have to know what the boards do and that sort of thing. And so I am the one who takes care of everything after that. So any of the campaign images you've seen, any of the kind of post layout, the box design is all me. And the artists that I end up getting hired, I'm also the one who gets everything ready for print and has the joy, and honestly it is a joy, of talking with the printers and talking with the all the manufacturing side of things. Thank you, Lynn Vander. Enjoy your sushi. I definitely think that I have this. And hopefully this is somewhere like 80% as good as yours is. Because you guys do a wonderful job, not only on board game design, but on doing the stream and keeping players active and that sort of thing, which is something that I hope to be more plugged in with. Someone who is definitely behind the scenes a lot more than in front of it, unless you're at a convention, and then I am right in the thick of things. So if you guys have questions for me on the design side, we can definitely get those answered. If you don't have questions about that kind of stuff, but do have questions about the campaign, we can also get those answered. So on the back end of things, there is the story that goes along with this, which I know that Lynn Vander talked about. We've shared this to a couple different outlets as well, so hopefully we'll be getting some new faces in here, new viewers, and there Yes, there will be a Board Game Geek page for sure. As everybody knows, Board Game Geek is kind of the Wikipedia of all things board game and all things tabletop. And so there will definitely be a Board Game Geek page for this. This was kind of fast and furious in its setup and preparation. And so those kinds of things are definitely in the works and being worked on. I can say that because I know that I will be doing graphics for it. So that is definitely something that will be coming. As far as the story with this goes, Tom touched on a lot of it. I know that more people were plugged in to sign a lot of the background stuff than I was. I kind of came in after some conversations started been had and said, this is what we're doing. This is how we need to update this. Here's some meeting. Let's have those. So after the deals were kind of made and plans were set in motion for how this was going to go about, and Jason's brilliant idea of creating what we're calling the Heartthrob campaign to try and fix the wrongs that were done by the company that was before that never had the game produced. After that was done, we kind of came in and said, okay, what can we do? How can we take A and make B out of it so that the community is not dumping money into things and not getting products out of it. I, for one, have been on a couple Kickstarters where things have not been funded or not funded. Things have not been fulfilled, and it is very frustrating, and it's not a good place to be. So we don't want that feeling in the board game community. As much as we possibly can help with a single project and maybe start something new, something nice for this community that we love. And, we wouldn't be doing a lot of this stuff if we didn't absolutely have full faith in a lot of the stuff that we do. So Evil Dead 2 came around, and we took, we were given a lot of the assets that the original board game had. And we said, okay, how can we use this, but do something that is our own, do something that is its own thing, and not just go, okay, push print and make the same game, which I know has been a question for original backers. Oh, hey, Amber. I am super, super glad that you are super enthused to back this. Amber is somebody that I actually went to high school with. So it's really cool to see people that have joined in and are on board for what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do is, help those backers, like I already said. And we're doing that by running this campaign. And when it becomes fully funded, sorry, that was a misspeak. All of the original backers, however, will get a copy of our game. It is not, like I said, the original game that the other company did. We have revamped it. We have actually taken the sculpts and made our own thing out of it. So if you haven't gone through the Kickstarter campaign yet, Lynn Vander, who are the mechanics design team, and they're the ones who laid everything out and took the pieces and made it. They have done an amazing how to play video, and then there are 3 videos because it was a very, very long playthrough where they were explaining things. There are 3 videos where they sit down and they actually play a game as well. I have watched a portion of the how to play video. I've also read through the rules many, 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 many times, just through the playtest portion and all of the editing that goes into it, and the layout, and everything that goes on behind the scenes that a lot of people don't realize is a lot of the stuff that I touch and a lot of the Jasco team touches. I know that a lot of times it seems like board games come out of nowhere, and there are so many steps involved that I wasn't even aware of when I came onto Jasco. I was kind of assumed that certain things happen, and it is a totally different process a lot of times. the biggest thing is the amount of playtest that goes back and forth. Because there are a lot of times that we get mechanics from anybody, or even in our card games that we do, that something will come out of design and we sit down and we put it on the table and we go, oh no, that doesn't work. And so we have to go back to the drawing board, or a lot of times in our licensed products, which we are big into, we're big sticklers, Jasco as a whole, Jason especially, the CEO, Jason as a whole is a big stickler on making sure that everything feels like the license that it is. So, for example, just background, one of our other licenses was Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the board game, and that big feeling for that one was we wanted it to feel like a season of the show when you play through it. So Evil Dead 2, we have to stick to that. We have to stick to that cause. We think that it's very important to stay true to our licenses, not only for the licensor side of things to keep them happy so that we can in turn maybe later on get more licenses from that company if they have more, or we want to keep that relationship open so that if we want to do something else with a license, then we also have that option. But it's very important to us because a lot of this stuff are things that we grew up with, and that we find very important to stay true to. So you'll notice a lot of things from Jasco games tend to be items or licenses that were popular or became popular or got bigger during the late 80s, early 90s, and into the 2000s. Jason and I are in that age category, and so we like to pick up those things. Well, he picks up those things. I get to work on them. It makes me very happy to work on them. On this one, we decided that we wanted to stay away from a lot of the art assets that the original company had done, and so we ended up creating our own. The biggest one of which that I'm super happy about is the fact that the board game box is going to be a pretty highly detailed version of the Necronomicon, which I assume everybody that is backing this game is familiar with, but if not, it's the book. It's the Book of the Dead. It was bound in human skin, and the pages were written in blood and like all this stuff. Unfortunately, that would cost a lot of money and probably be highly illegal for our board game to have that happen. So it is just a piece of artwork, but it is a piece of artwork that I'm very pleased with, and our licensors were very happy with, and we thought that it would have a really good, strong shelf presence. And the other part of it is, it's iconic. It's iconic to the entire license of the Evil Dead franchise, especially Evil Dead 2. And so we definitely wanted it to be something that when this does go to retail, someone walking around the corner and seeing it on the shelf is just going to, boom, immediately know, oh, wow, that's the Necronomicon. That must be an Evil Dead game. Let's check it out. So that was something, when we started talking about what to do for our version, just immediately, no questions asked, I looked at Jason. I was like, we have to do the Necronomicon as the cover. I know it's a board game versus a book, but the idea is still there, and I really think that it worked out really well. I'm pleased with how it came out. I can't wait to see it in person. I can't wait to get my copy. Speaking of, let's find out where we're at on the campaign, because I haven't looked since I started this thing. So currently we're at about 280 backers, and it keeps jumping up. So we're at about 13.5 of our goal, which is good. I'm very excited. I think that this is doing very well for the type of campaign that it is. I know that we have an interesting kind of campaign style in this one, with the fact that it's a heartthrob campaign. A lot of campaigns do a lot of those stretch goals where they just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. This one, due to the nature of it, where we are trying to be able to hand out games to those original, I think it was like 8,000 backers that didn't get any product outside of maybe some. I was not a backer of the original. They may have gotten some PDFs or something like that, but I'm not even sure on that. But in order for us to be able to give that out to those players and those backers, we had to keep the price point at a certain point so that it was actually feasible to do. Because as we've mentioned, once we do hit that $195,000 funding goal, those 8,000 backers just get a game. Like, that's rad. That's so cool. When it was pitched to me, I couldn't believe that this thing was, something like this would even be possible. But after we sat down and, it was kind of discussed with us as a team, Jason brought this to the team. And when I say team, a lot of you, I guess, may not be familiar with Jasco Games as much as some other people, larger companies. Jasco Games is a small company that does big things. There's not a lot of us. There's 6, I believe, currently. Plus, some outskirt people, like the Lynn Vander team. They are technically Lynn Vander Studios, but we do work with them as Jasco Games and Lynn Vander. But they're also friends. The gaming community is kind of a small place. And you basically learn to know everybody. It's very strange to actually be somewhere at a gaming convention. There's 8 of us, not 6, 8. We keep adding people. That's Jason, by the way, in the chat. He is the CEO. And three full-time contractors. That's what it was. Yeah, those were the outlying people that I was kind of mentioning. For a while, Jason can attest that for a while there were 3 of us doing this stuff, and then some contractors. But we have grown in the past 2 years tremendously. Oh yes, the Alexes, Alex and George. They do a lot of our organized play support and stuff like that out of Canada. We work with a lot of Canadians. Las Vegas is kind of where Jasco is based. So if you're ever out in Las Vegas, hit us up. Something that a lot of people don't know about Jasco Games, and I don't care if you believe me or not, because it is absolutely true. On the back of our games and our packaging is a phone number. That phone number is Jason's personal cell phone, the CEO of the company. So if you guys ever have a question or a comment, or you need to get a hold of somebody, you can of course email us, because it is 2019 and you can always get a hold of us that way. But the phone number that is on the back of all Jasco products is actually Jason Haransky, CEO of Jasco Games, as in Jasco, Jason. That is his phone number. Mr. Jeeves just asked, have people ever called it? The answer is yes, with an asterisk. It's rarely people calling about like questions for games, or to give us a comment, or have a that sort of thing. It's more often our like store owners and stuff like that who will call to prove to a player that it is Jason's number. That's my favorite story to tell, is like, we'll be having some kind of team meeting and Jason will get a phone call from one of the store owners and be like, hello. And he's like, can you just prove who this is? And Jason will be like, this is Jason Haransky, CEO of Jasco Games. And the store owner will be like, okay, thanks, and then hang up. And so it is an actual thing. It's on the back. Let me see if I have some. Oh, I do. So on the back of this package, there is a phone number that says you can call it, and that is Jason's number. So do that. We like to hear from you guys. We like to hear comments. It is really funny. I honestly, like when I started setting packaging up and stuff like that, I was like, Jason, where does this phone number go? And he's like, that's my phone number. We put it on everything. So yeah, it is an actual thing. Chris Cahill, Dutiel, original backer. Thank you so much. You know, we just we want to make sure that stuff like this doesn't happen as much as we can. It is our first foray into this, but we definitely, if this works out, we hope that it starts something new where some of these Kickstarters and GoFundMes and Indiegogos and that sort of thing. We really hope that it could, kind of start a new process of, being able to help out those backers that did believe in something and then either got taken advantage of or, sometimes stuff does come up. I'm not saying that everybody is just trying to make a quick buck and, get out by any stretch of the imagination. But yeah, it's definitely something. Yes, if you guys, speaking of, I know one of the questions on the Linvander stream was, how do you find your backer number if you don't have those emails anymore or that sort of thing? Someone did just comment, Lee Andrew, said that Ryan at Jasco Games, who is one of our employees, can definitely, somebody at Jasco Games should be able to help you. We do have access to the original backer list from the original Kickstarter because we worked with the licensor who they were admins on the last one. And so that's how they have access to that. And so that is how we're getting people their games. And that's how we are able to help you out with that if you guys have lost that. So feel free to reach out through email, through the messenger on the Kickstarter, I believe is another way to do it. Yes, at this point, I've kind of talked a little bit about the art. I've talked a little bit about the campaign as a whole. If you guys have any questions by any means, you can put them in the chat and I'll definitely get those answered. So some of the questions that have been from the chat page, from the comments page, which I know trying to read that and trying to keep up with it is super, super difficult and things get asked multiple times. So one of the ones that we keep getting asked is, will there be add-ons like in the campaign of Evil Dead other than the movie Cinestory that we're doing? So I'm going to double answer that. So first answer is no, currently the plan is not to have any more add-ons. As far as I know, unless that has changed in the 2 hours that the Kickstarter has been up, and I doubt that it has because I think that I would have been notified to make some graphics for that. And then the second answer is, we there's a little description of the Cinestory, but what that is it is going to be a large graphic novel. I think it's over 300 pages, is what it says. Where we have illustrated the entire movie into a storybook form so that you can read through it, when you're traveling or if, you don't have access to, if you're camping out, I don't know, in some kind of remote cabin that somebody owns and that sort of thing. So it is a really neat thing. I have seen a few of the pages, obviously, to get them approved and that sort of thing. And I really like the look of it. It's a very neat concept, and I'm actually looking forward to getting a copy of that. I'm a big reader. I'm a big graphic novel reader, and I'm a big horror movie fan. As you can kind of see by my office, I've got movie posters all over the house, and I'm big into the horror stuff. So I'm looking forward to getting my hands on a copy of this. Kind of can't wait. Let's see, another question. I hadn't had a chance to look at the campaign page. Yep, Mr. Jeeves, definitely go look at the campaign page. Another thing to check out is the video up at the top. Jason gives a quick brief of what this campaign is about. And then there's a really, really cool animated kind of intro to the game, the board game. that we had done, and I'm super, super happy with the way it came out. Leandrew, Hammer horror or Universal Monsters kind of horror? Yes, and New Age horror, and foreign horror, and giallo, and all of the above. I kind of live and breathe horror and then sci-fi horror stuff, so getting to work on this is a really, really cool experience for me as a fanboy, but even more so, just seeing things come to life through Jasco Games is a great experience for me. Let's see, trying to find the answer on Twitter. I haven't been back yet. I'm curious if those from the original Horrible campaign who backed for multiple copies of the game will they receive just one copy or multiple? Will there only be one version of the game or multiple like the original campaign? We answered, to answer your first question, which is, if you backed for multiple copies of the game, will they receive just one copy or multiple? Yes, if your pledge on the other campaign included multiple copies of the game, we have that information, like I said, from the original license, and we will be fulfilling that. The second question, there is only one version of our game. We're not doing, at this time, we are not planning on doing, like a deluxe version or an exclusive version or that sort of thing. So it is Evil Dead 2, the board game by Jasco Games, and that is what all the backers will be getting, and then that is what all the original backers will also be getting a copy of. Crippled God Foundry, greetings. We love Evil Dead. Wish you the best campaign. Thank you so much. We wish everybody who is backing it a good time here. We're having a lot of fun with it. It has been a very fun campaign to work on. Like I said, getting to work with all these graphics and getting to work with things that I kind of grew up with and have watched many, many times, like just probably an unsafe amount of times I've seen all of the Evil Dead stuff, including the new one. So it's been a lot of fun. Barry Everson, who is a Jasco fanboy, asks, Bruce Campbell signed copies, ? Haha. At this time, no. That being said, you could take your game yourself to a place where he might be signing copies, and then you would have exclusive signed copies of your own board game that no one else would have. I mean, and then you get to meet him in person. Like, that is kind of like a double deal, like for anybody who has the game and takes it to go get signed. I'm just saying, like that would be the option that I would want to take. But that is mostly because I would just want to meet him again in person. I say met. It was, one of the big group things where everybody's in a line and it's very quick. But still, I shook his hand and he was really cool. He was really nice. So Jasco Games will not be doing that, not through this campaign and not as far as I'm aware in any other campaign. But you are absolutely free to take your games to get signed. He absolutely does stuff. I know. I thought I just saw him on an ad bill for one of the ones here in the Midwest, but that could be wrong, and I could have my timing way off. But yeah, absolutely, go get your game signed, and then post up that you got your game signed. Someone on the comments asked, I pledged $80 originally, but that was with add-ons and everything through the backer kit. Does that count as the same? Appreciate the response. To kind of clarify, if you did it through backer kit and that sort of thing, we have a list of the number of board games pledged for via the old campaign. Retailers that got 6, the add-on copies, and so that sort of thing. So what we're targeting here with that is the number of games that we, Jasco, need to produce to fulfill on those things. The extra stuff that you may or may not have backed for, if you were one of the original backers, we can't really do anything about that. They were not our product. They were, a lot of it, from what I was told, was like auctioned off or given to different outlets, that sort of thing. So, but if your pledge included 2 copies of the game on that, then we should have those numbers. If you're unsure about that still, please, by all means, feel free to send us a direct message or an email and that sort of thing, and we can answer that directly on if we have those numbers for you. And again, if you need your backer number, we can also get that for you. It will, we know that that was a while ago, and a lot of people don't keep those kinds of emails around, or sometimes they just get deleted. I know some of the ones that I backed, 4.5 years ago, they're gone. So another question, it was about the backer ID number. The ones on our list do have 7 numbers, and somebody was asking, there's the one that they could find only had 5 numbers. Looks like that may be our Kickstarter, your Kickstarter ID number. And if you look at our FAQ, which are on the campaign tab, you can find steps down at the bottom. It's near the shipping area, where we explain how to find your exact backer ID number. Again, if you guys have additional questions in here, you can ask in the chat, for sure. And if you have any questions about like the artwork or that sort of thing, Mr. Jeeves just asked, somebody commented on a lack of chainsaw in the game, specifically Chainsaw Ash. Any comment on that? I think that our comment is anything is possible trademark. No, but currently, kind of what you see is what you get in the game. I know that I did the what's in the game box, what's in my pledge, what's in my game. There is a chainsaw token in the game for sure. You could glue that to the miniature of Ash if you wanted to, although I wouldn't suggest it because you're either going to mess up the plastic or you're going to mess up the cardboard. So, but yeah, I guess anything is possible. Trademark Jesco Games. That's the tagline that I am, trained to say. Yes, Matthew 19 said, they who shall not be named apparently gave all the Chainsaw Ash minis to Nerd Block. That's what I keep hearing as well, and have heard in the past. I don't know. Obviously, I was not a part of that, so I will not be making a comment on that. But that is kind of the idea behind what we've heard. Let's see. In the original campaign, the game could be played solo. This game requires at least 3 players, it says. For some of us, that is a major issue. So, unfortunately, our design focuses a lot more on kind of the social aspect of playing board games and that sort of thing, playing as a team, trying to either keep the portal open or closing the portal, whoever, feels it's necessary at that time to do whatever they want to do. Because sometimes evil does get inside you, and maybe you just make that decision. But that being said, we're also not going to stop you playing it how you want to play it. So if you want to like hard mode challenge yourself and try and like solo it all the way through, you absolutely can. You could also sit down. I know with some of our other games that say 1 to 6 players or that sort of thing, I've sat down and I've played multiple characters at the same time. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Jason, as he just said, you can play 2 players, but it does get a little bit awkward, but it is playable that way. Yes, That is true. Jason did mention that if you do play multiple players, you might be both good and evil at the same time. But I mean, that's kind of like life. We're all a little bit good and a little bit bad, right? There's passive light and passive darkness. No. So yeah, that could be kind of interesting. Um, so apparently, Jason said, which means you can win and lose, like Omaha. I don't think I was there for that. I kind of want to hear this story at some point. Maybe that'll be on another stream. That could be actually a fun story to hear about on stream. Um, oh, okay. So, and then Chris Cahill did just post how to find your backer kit number for those of you that are in the chat right now. But so the question was about play. This is a 3-player game, 3-player and up. But yeah, this is in my opinion, and I totally get only having a certain number of players to sit down and play games. Since I moved to Chicago after being in Las Vegas for 10 years, I'm working on finding a gaming group here still. So that is definitely something that I will be up on and working on. Let's see. Any chance extra minis can be add-on options as well? Also, are the cursed dice laid out like fudge dice? So the cursed dice are 3 success sides, 2 blank sides, and 1 failure side. That is kind of the reason why they're cursed, because the game's not just easy mode. I can say that. I'm pretty sure I can say that. It's not just an easy mode, sit down, you're definitely going to win the game, or you're definitely going to lose the game. There's a lot of strategy involved in this one. I like the aspect, I think one of my favorite parts about this aspect is that you can choose to be evil and do the opposite of what the entire rest of the group is doing. And that's a lot of fun to me, because while it is a co-op game and ultimately you are supposed to be closing the portal so that so that deadites don't continually come through and that sort of thing, you don't have to if you don't want to. So yeah, it's a big aspect of the game and it's a lot of fun. I haven't checked the tracker in a little bit. Let's see what we're up to. We are over 300 backers now at this point. Thank you. And it looks like we're getting real close to 15,000. Really close to 15,000. So keep up the work, keep spreading the word. Every little bit helps. I know every little bit helps all the original backers that are looking forward to hopefully getting a game. And so without sharing this and getting the word out and posting it places and that sort of thing, we can't get this game funded. So I think we will. I'm certain we will, in all honesty. Evil Dead 2 is a big popular thing. I know that the last one put a bad taste in people's mouths for it, but overall, I'm very confident about this one. I know that we are very happy with the way the game came out. I'm happy with the way it looks, like I've mentioned. I'm especially happy with the way the models look. They are very nice. The sculpts are pretty fantastic. There is a Chris Cahill studio. I'm probably butchering any kind of pronunciation on anybody's name outside of Barry Everson and Jason Hronsky, because I know them. Is there still equipment in this game like in the other campaign? Does Ash have to find his boomstick and chainsaw, or does he already have it? Ash, there's a chainsaw in the game. So there are a number of items in the game that you do find. throughout, and they do help you to fight against the Deadites that come out and against the bosses, which if you also, if you haven't checked out the campaign, scroll down a little bit. We have the turns of all of the models in the, I think all the models in the game, especially the bosses. The bosses are, yeah, Boomstick and Chainsaw are both in the game. Sorry, I did mention Chainsaw. I meant to say Boomstick and Chainsaw. The models are on the page with character spins, along with the Deadite versions of models. So definitely go look at that, because some of the Deadite ones are pretty much my favorite thing about this. I can't wait to get them and paint them or have them painted, as I've been doing lately. Just no time, because I'm working on things such as Evil Dead 2, which is, you know, I don't know, a quote unquote better use of my time, or at least a more fulfilling use of my time. Although I will have fully painted models for this for certain. Barry asks, future Army of Darkness expansions, my favorite horror movie ever. It is definitely up there with in my many lists of horror movies. As Jason answered, Army of Darkness, quote unquote, may or may not be launched after this by another company. I can neither confirm nor deny, but chances are that if you came over here from the Lynn Vander live stream, that may or may not have been answered over there. So yeah, let's see. Maybe answer some more of these FAQ questions. How far along in production is this game? Is April 2020 an actual realistic ship date or more of a placeholder? I know this game's been worked on now for quite some time, but obviously just have to ask. So this game is, this is kind of, in all honesty, one of the like very last steps to get this game done. Since the assets, a lot of the assets that the previous game had, job's done. Yes, exactly. So the game is done. It is not physically done in like in our warehouse. That is not what I'm saying. But the parts are done, the sculpts are done, the board is done, the cards are done, they are laid out, they are ready to go to print. We just need the funding to do so. The other portion of that a lot of people don't think about is it's also already through approvals. It's approved. This game is good, which I know people assume that just because it's on Kickstarter, that's done. But if you pay attention to some Kickstarters, sometimes you'll see little tags that say like subject to approval or art subject to change, blah, blah, blah. Everything that we do, we make sure that it is already approved before it goes up, so that we don't have to run into that. We try our absolute best to make sure that everything is the absolute final, so visuals are the same, so logos even. Don't get changed and that sort of thing, because we don't want a box to show up at somebody's house and somebody, you know, opens it and goes, well, what is this? I didn't order this. I ordered, you know, the blue box, not the red box. Why is this red? So we are ready to go to print as soon as this funds. And then, you know, kind of timing on that comes down to getting the proof back and getting it back to them, you know, giving the check mark and, you know, the green light to get everything printed and the miniatures getting cast and molded and that sort of thing. But honestly, kind of the hard part's done, because the mechanics are done. You can watch the playthrough video on the campaign. You can watch the how to play before that, and then watch the 3-part campaign of Lynn Vander actually playing through it. And yes, talking about painting miniatures, Jason just mentioned, I bet that we can have a painting guide put together very quickly, because Jason and Luke and myself and I think some of the other, and Kai, we all have a miniatures background. I actually have some, like, if you see me waving my hands around, like I have tattoos, and actually I have some miniature game tattoos from other companies from before I started with Jasco Games. I have a number of stuff here, and I regularly play in miniature game tournaments. And so, yeah, we can definitely, that's actually a really good idea, and something that I would like to work on is getting a painting guide put together. I know that I have a lot of friends that are professional painters and do this for an income, and so maybe I'll end up working with some of them or some point. But that's a good idea. That's a very good idea. So Kickstarter comments. So yes, to finish off the question, we're just standing by to send the game to production as soon as the campaign ends and pledges are collected, which generally takes what, like, I don't know, a few weeks at most. Since this game, it doesn't have anything other than the amazing Cinestory add-on, that helps out tremendously with timing, because it should just kick over to a backer kit where we start getting numbers spit out to us of, this is what you need to produce, this is how many you need to produce, here's names, here's backers, blah, 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 blah. We'll get addresses from people, but we can do that after sending to production. We just need the number of games that we need produced. One question that has kept coming back up is I was one of the people who got a pair of the real life cabin dice. I assume those won't be usable in this new version of the game. Not like I would, but I was wondering. The simple answer is nope, those are not compatible with our game. We have changed it. And the second question that comes up about that is, will those be available, or are those ever going to be available? And the answer is no, not from Jasco Games. We reached out multiple times to attempt to find out what was going on with those and where those were at and that sort of thing. And as far as I know, we didn't really hear anything back. And so they went to auction, I believe. Yeah, Jason tried to buy them at auction. I do remember that. I was actually in the office for that. And we never heard back. So we can't do anything with the cabin dice. They weren't ours to do anything with. And so unfortunately, they are not, if you did get a pair, congrats, that's really cool. But they won't be compatible with the Jasco Evil Dead 2, the board game. I was a backer and got burned bad. This is from somebody who was in the comment section. They repledged for this game. Will they get 2 or 1? I understand I have to pay shipping. How do we know I was a backer of the old Kickstarter? You guys are so freaking awesome. Well, thank you. I'm surprised I'm not blushing. I'm very Irish, so I turned very red. The answer is, if you are an old backer and you back for this game, you will get 2 copies, because you will be paying for this one, and then we will be filling that. How do we know that you are an old backer? As I've stated, we are working with the one of the admins who was a licensor, who is one of the licensors, and they had access to all of those kind of information and assets and that sort of thing. And so that has been transferred to us so that we have that, so that we can do this Heartthrob campaign and fund. And once we fund, get all of those back to the original backers. There, we do have on the original, or on the campaign tab for this Kickstarter, we do have a list. There's a headline that says original backers, and there should be a link there that you can click to see if you are if your backer ID is on our list. Let's see. Joe Holloway in the chat. This is a good question. Very good question. I backed, quote unquote, another company's Terminator campaign at the level to also get the Evil Dead 2 board game that we will no longer be getting. Do I also have to back this new campaign to get the game? The answer is check with us. And definitely, if you have a proof of purchase for that, send it to us and we'll get you on the list if you're not already there already. But check with us because there's a chance that you may already be on our list. Someone commented, the box art looks awesome. Thank you. Thank you. That actually means a lot. I like hearing that stuff is well received, because in my head and in all of our heads, it definitely, we always think that it looks good, and because we always strive to put out and put our best foot forward. We're like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, this stream, we are sticklers for staying true to the look and feel and overall idea of our licenses. So hearing that back means that we did our job, and that's what we want to hear back. Is it finished? Kind of answer that. Game is finished. We're just looking to press print. So we are definitely looking forward to pressing print, which, oops, let's see where we're at, which we are now over 15,000 and about 320 backers at this point, which is really good. Keep pushing it. Keep pushing this game. We know that we're going to keep pushing this game. If you guys have any up-to-date questions that we haven't touched on, please feel free to ask them in the chat, and we will. Jason's in here with me. He's the CEO. It's over 9,000. He is the CEO of the company, and if you're just joining in with this and you have a question that you don't want to answer in chat, but you do want answered, you can either direct message us on the Kickstarter, or you can go buy any one of our products and look at the back, and there's a phone number on there, and it's Jason's cell phone number. So you can give him a call and answer a question, and he will answer as many questions as he possibly can. If you don't believe me, just do it. It's absolutely true. Let's see. Two questions. So I've touched on one of the, this is kind of a double question. This game, they were asking if this game isn't designed for solo play, and if there aren't any plans for stretch goals or add-ons beyond the book already listed in the campaign. So I've already touched a little bit on that. Just to reiterate, it is based around kind of the social aspect of playing. You can absolutely play a two-player game. It does get a little bit weird. You can definitely play multiple characters during a sit-down, but then there may be an instance where you are both evil and good, and so that could be kind of interesting. But it's absolutely possible. We're not there to tell you how to house rule your game, and rule zero of playing games is to have fun. So our game is set up for 3+ players, but if you sit down and want to play 2 players, absolutely do it. Second question is, are there any plans for future expansions down the line that could make the game soloable, perhaps with Chainsaw Ash and Gooseneck Henrietta minis? Or if not, could you say how the minis with this game would scale with the Chainsaw Ash mini from the other campaign? I do believe that the minis are the same scale. I don't believe that we changed that, as I feel like I would have definitely been a part of that. So as far as expansions, at this time, we don't have plans to do expansions for this game, or ways to include items from the previous campaign. That being said, and maybe, yep, it is same scale. I thought so. I did not think that I ever remember being on a chain where we rescaled any of these. So they are, the minis from the previous game are the same scale. So you can definitely, I mean, did those go out? I guess that I wasn't a part of the old campaign, so I don't know. See if we have any questions in here. Joe Holloway was also an all-in backer for our previous campaign, so thank you for that, and thank you for any backers, present and past, for any of our games. We can't do this without you. So Justin Ward, who asks, will we be able to get Evil Dead playmats? The answer is probably anything is possible. Trademark Jesker Games. That is something that I know will be brought up in our meetings and that sort of thing for going forward. We're trying to get this funded, and playmats would be very cool. It may even be something cool where we could do the player boards that you see in the campaign if you go look at the image as playmats. But that may be something that we discuss in-house and figure out if that's something that even the community would even want or not. I'm just trying to find some more questions to answer and stuff to talk about. I guess people did get a hold of the cabin dice, and they're talking about in the chat. So one of the questions was, our original backers that had a pledge that included the Dead by Dawn comic going to automatically receive a copy of the Cinestory if it's funded? Unfortunately not. We can't fulfill items that were not games. That has to do with kind of everything that goes on behind the scenes. The Cinestory will still be an add-on for everyone if they want it. It is a very cool item. In my personal opinion, I really like it. I think the cover looks pretty snazzy. But I'm a big fan of our Necronomicon art. So the Cinestory, if you are just joining us and kind of had a question about what that is, I mentioned it earlier on in this. I kind of just touched on it. We are working with a company, and they have the technology to make things better. And so what they've done is they have created a graphic novel out of the entire film of Evil Dead 2. And that's why it's a Cinestory. So now you actually get a chance to read through the movie story, whether you're at the if you're at the airport or on a bus or on a car ride, or just at home or in a cabin in the woods or camping or that sort of thing. So yeah, I think it's a really, really cool little item that we're doing. I'm looking forward to getting my copy and having my copy on my bookshelf, one of many bookshelves. That one's actually just all gaming. The gaming books that I regularly touch, including some horror stuff right there. So I never knew about Chris Cahill, Dudiel, again, butchering. I never knew about Jasco until talks started about reviving this game and helping us out. Even if this campaign, God forbid, is unsuccessful, it will not be unsuccessful. It's only going to be successful. I am now a lifetime customer. Well, thank you very much. That means a lot. I mean, like I've mentioned before, we are a smaller company, and we always try and put our best foot forward, and try and create content and games and stuff that we want to own, because we want to play it. Some of our other board games, I know Gen Con is a big thing, and Gen Con just happened, 1, 2, 3 weeks ago. It's hard to believe that it's been that far, it's even been almost a month. But Gen Con, a lot of the questions that I get asked, because I work at the booth, the Jasco booth, a lot, is, do you actually play these games? The answer is yes. Yeah. And not just in playtest. I've played all of our games, like a bunch. Luke and I were actually at another convention at the end of last year and sat down to play Cowboy Bebop because that's what we had. And it was late night and neither one of us felt like going out. And so we just sat down and played our own games. So yeah, it means a lot when people say that they like our stuff and that they're lifetime customers and that they keep coming back for more because they enjoy what we do, because I think that it comes off, our products come off as we also enjoy what we do. Jason likes our games too. Definitely, 2 of our games are in my top 5, which I think that says a lot. Like top 5 games that I play regularly, I suggest to others, and I definitely suggest a lot of our stuff. This one included. I absolutely, really appreciate that. So, I mean, I guess, yeah, Jason mentioned the 2 that I would put in my list, Bebop and Buffy. Our CCG is the best. It's been around for 13 years. We've owned it for 11. Jason, are we going on 11 years? But that's actually how the Top Gun game is really good too. But I was supposed to be talking about Evil Dead. Stop bringing up all these good games. Top Gun's amazing. Top Gun is so much fun. But yeah, Evil Dead campaign is at almost 16,000. So maybe all my rambling and all my talking is helping, because I think we've gone up almost $3,000. It's totally me, right? Like that's what's doing this. That's where all this money is coming from. 331 backers currently. It's all me. It's all me. It's all for you, Damien. That's another license, but yeah, I don't know. I've kind of touched on like the majority of the stuff that I had wanted to touch on in my stream, and did it in the hour that I kind of allotted myself, so that I didn't keep everybody here too long and that sort of thing. Not sure who's up next. Let me check in with the team and see if we have any on board, or if Lynn Vander's coming back on. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, you guys need to get Transformers license and get Lynn Vander working on it with the Chronicle system or whatever they're calling it. So anytime that new licenses come up, because we all have our favorites, myself included, anything is possible, trademark. But also keep in mind with that one, who currently owns it, because there is a Transformers game out there right now. So that being said, anything is possible, because anything is possible. I mean, look at what we're doing with Evil Dead 2. With the backers that backed the original game and kind of never expected to see anything happen with it, or their money, or the license in general. We were able to kind of work something out so that we can help out with anything. So, yeah. Zorg, that may be the one. I don't know. I can't talk about other people's games. No, I mean, as far as like a Transformers license goes, that would be really cool. That would be really cool. Especially with some like Transformers minis, and then that could be translated into like a Gundam version because that would be tight. Oh my word. The Roman Sword, Pirates of Darkwater, make a game. Jason, this is what we're doing next. 100%, anything is possible. Pirates of Darkwater game. We need on it. I would actually probably just die if we got that. And yes, I know who you are. Absolutely know who you are. So yeah, I mean, I can answer more questions here, or I may jump off here so that we can continue getting some work done on this Kickstarter and answering questions there. Mr. Jeeves, you are correct. Pirates of Darkwater would be absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. Jason, that's a hint. Anything is possible, trademark. So I'm going to try and find out if we're streaming next or who's streaming next. I know that we have the Linvander link down at the bottom of the page for our live streaming with a little bit of a schedule on there. Let me see. Yeah, I think that today it's Linvander and I do believe that some of the Linvander team later on today will be streaming, although I'm not certain what time, and so I'm going to try and find that out for you. I know that on here tomorrow, the 22nd, Evil Dead Day 2 is going to be general discussion with Linvander. We will be probably, when we find out the times for that kind of stuff, keep check of if you haven't backed, go back the game so that you can get the updates when we post those, because I'm sure that when we get times and when streams go live, we will be posting an update there so that people will have the link and get a heads up as to when to kind of go in there. We will be posting, we'll be updating the campaign page with the live stream times as well as we get those. The reason being that Tom, who was on the Linvander stream before, Tom Gofton, he is actually currently traveling. And so in between his travels, he is kind of sitting down and talking Evil Dead as much as he possibly can. So that's, he's giving us kind of a heads up as to when those are happening. So thank you all for joining us on this stream, and I believe that we will catch you all next time. And like I said, thank you all so much for backing. We are, yes, Zorg, we are interrupting his family time with our Kickstarter. That's actually the modus operandi for Jasco Games, is to make sure that we catch people during their family time and during dinner, especially. So thank you all. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you for backing. Please share the campaign with your friends and family and your social media teams and your social media groups and your gaming groups and everything. We want this to fund not only so that we can get copies of the game, but so that we can also get the copies of the game to those original backers who gave a lot of money to the other company and never saw anything for it, really. So this is to help them as much as it is to get copies in your hand and to get copies of a game that we think that you'll love. So thank you again for joining us. And thanks for we passed 16,000. Excellent. So I will see you all next time. Bombard Board Game Geek as well.